Now, there's been a big all-party vote in the Commons today to introduce a cap on the country's total welfare budget for the first time. From next year, all welfare spending, apart from pensions and job seekers' allowance, will have to come in under £119 billion.
Are there any rabbits in that box, Chancellor?
The new limit on welfare spending was announced in the budget last week.
The ayes have it, unlocked.
MPs voted it through this afternoon, with the Chancellor describing it as an important moment in the development of the welfare state.
From now on, any government wanting to spend more on welfare will have to be honest with the public, honest about the costs, secure the approval of Parliament to breach the cap. 26 benefits controlled by the welfare cap.
We on this side of the House support capping social security spending, a policy the Leader of the Opposition advocated last year. And with welfare spending now £13 billion higher than the government planned in its spending review, Labour will make different and fairer choices to get the social security bill under control and tackle the root causes of rising spending.
But though Labour voted with the government, hoping to sidestep what had been described as George Osborne's welfare trap, not everyone is on side. And there were 13 Labour rebels among the 22 MPs who opposed the measure. But how will the cap work in practice? And will it mean more benefit cuts are now inevitable? Well, just after the vote, I went to Westminster to speak to the Conservative MP, Priti Patel, and one of the Labour rebels, Katie Clark. Priti Patel, when your government's spending on welfare approaches the cap, what will you cut first? Severe disability allowance, carers allowance, child benefit?
I don't think this is about naming individual benefits that are going to be cut. This is about the principle of reforming the welfare system and welfare spending. And what we've seen today, for the first time in a generation, is the government make a very, very good and strategic decision about going to Parliament to say to any future government, if you're going to increase the welfare budget, you have to get a mandate from Parliament to increase transparency and to be honest with the public as to how public purses spent.
Ultimately, if it's to be about more than principle, in practice, that will probably mean benefit cuts, won't it?
I think the practicalities of this will mean more reform to our benefits.
More cuts.
More reform. So already we've seen a programme that is very much focused on getting people back into work. This is about the principle of welfare change.
You know that welfare, tightening on the welfare budget is politically very, very popular. And this sends out a message that you are tough on welfare, when actually it's not really a set-in-stone cap. You can go to the House and raise it. It's a trap for Labour, isn't it?
Well, actually, I take issue with the whole notion that this is a political decision. The reality is that this is public money at the end of the day. This is taxpayers' money. And we as politicians, whichever government is in power, should be accountable to the British taxpayer.
Katie Clark, if 119 billion isn't enough to spend on welfare, how much? 150, 200 billion?
Well, we know this government has already overspent £13 billion by the end of this
Labour?
Parliament.
What about your decisions on spending?
Well, what I'm saying is that I don't think £119 billion is going to be enough right at the beginning of the Parliament. There's some types of benefit that any civilised society is going to have to spend money on, but there's other benefits, yes, where we need strategies to actually get
but yet your
the spending.
Party today, with very few rebels, I think Labour rebels were 13, have voted in favour of this welfare cap. Ed Miliband has taken the decision that this is what the public want, and he's right, isn't he?
I think what the public want is a government that behaves in a way that is socially just, that spends money wisely, that gives support to those that need it, but also make sure those with the broadest shoulders pay.
You know, that's what the Tories say about welfare, and the point is it comes down to critical decisions. You are saying you will axe the spare room subsidy, the bedroom tax, but not saying how you will pay for that.
Well, what we need to do, we need to have strategies in place. We need to build more council houses. We need to get rent control so we get housing benefit under control. We need to put people back to work, but also put them back to work at a living wage.
You talk about a welfare budget spiralling out of control. This is about the rhetoric which makes you look tough on benefits.
I don't think it's just about that, actually. I think also we have to look at our economy right now. Market fundamentals have changed in the economy. We've had a recession. GDP has changed. OK, so things are improving now compared to when we first came into power, and we had some very difficult choices to make back then. Those choices still have to be made, and I don't think any responsible government can shy away from taking these decisions. These are right and proper decisions that the taxpayer need to see.
Finally, for Labour, I mean, do you consider this was a conviction vote by your colleagues today, or they're simply chasing the tails of the Tories who've done so well on welfare?
I think Labour's doing a huge amount of work to try and tackle some of the sources of some of the...
Was this a conviction vote as far as you're concerned?
And I think the message they were trying to get through today was that that's what they're doing. My view is that this budget that's been passed today is completely unrealistic. No government's going to stick to it. And the reality is we're going to have to spend more on benefits until we get those strategies in place that cut our housing benefit bill and put people back to work at a wage that they can actually afford to live on.